You have two options in life. A. You blame others and bad luck for everything that happens to you. Or B. You take life into your own hands and focus only on the things that you control, accepting everything else as it comes. The second option is the foundation of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that started around 300 BC in Athens. The story of Stoicism begins, most surprisingly, in adversity, as if it were meant to be this way. A merchant named Zeno started his voyage from Phoenicia to Piraeus in what seemed like a usual business trip. But, as you know, almost nothing in life goes as planned, and you have to be prepared for it. Zeno was carrying his life's fortune in cargo, so a potential shipwreck also meant poverty for him. In an unexpected turn of events, his ship was severely hit by a storm. If you were Zeno and you saw your life's work disappearing in front of your eyes, what would you do? I would become furious, but there would be really no one to blame. Zeno, amidst this chaos, realized this was not under his control and he accepted his fate. Stranded and lost, he found some courage and reached Athens. The first thing he does after the shipwreck is to visit a bookstore. There, he is captivated by a book about Socrates and begins to read his philosophy. "Where can I find such a man, a philosopher?" Zeno asks the bookseller. "Over there," the bookseller responded, pointing at the direction where an Athenian philosopher just happened to be passing by. Zeno became his student, and later he decided to start his own school, Stoicism. The name comes from the place where Zeno taught Stoicism, Stoa Poikile, which means painted porch. What makes Stoicism so unique is that despite the passage of more than 2000 years, its teachings are more relevant today than back then. With problems like relationship breakups, financial losses, wars, and personal issues like depression, Stoicism is not just relevant, it's mandatory. This means that anyone, no matter their gender, occupation, race, or wealth, can adopt Stoicism as a life-changing way of living. Today, the word Stoic refers to someone who doesn't show his or her emotions during difficult times. However, that's not what Stoicism is about. Let me explain. Have you ever seen a fearless person? A person who, no matter who tries to break him down, always stays confident and never gives up? That's a Stoic. These people are brave and disciplined, but like you and me, they feel fear and disappointment. What makes them different though is that they decide to take action no matter how they feel, because it's the right thing to do and it must get done. Look, Stoicism is about accepting responsibility and becoming the man or woman that you must be. If you are not ready to take responsibility for your life and help the world become a better place, Stoicism is not for you. On the other hand, if you think that you don't need Stoicism and that your problems will cease to exist once you get that supercar or find the woman of your dreams or become successful, you are fooling yourself. Problems will never stop because life is a battlefield to make us stronger and more resilient. The Stoics understood that and tried to make themselves and the people around them so undefeatable and unshakable that no matter what happened to them, they were always able to fight back and keep on trying. This might sound weird, but the most well-known Stoics of all time were an emperor, a slave, and an entrepreneur. These three figures have inspired and continue to inspire successful people like Jordan Peterson and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men to have ever lived. He was so humble that his idol was a former slave. The name of that wise slave was Epictetus, which in Greek means acquired. The third Stoic, whose most teachings survive to us, is Seneca, one of the richest citizens of Rome and the equivalent of a modern-day entrepreneur. Seneca's life seems so fitting today because he managed to not get distracted by his immense wealth, but focus on living according with his values instead. The three most revolutionary teachings of this philosophy, in my opinion, that have helped millions live a better life are the dichotomy of control by Epictetus, the shortness of life by Seneca, and Memento Mori by Marcus Aurelius. Before we get in depth of these lessons and provide you with practical examples to deal with whatever life throws at you, you need to know your values. The Stoics believed that the ultimate goal in life was eudaimonia, which only comes if you live in accordance with nature. Many confuse eudaimonia with happiness, but that's not the case. Happiness implies an emotion, while eudaimonia is a state of being, and therefore the term flourishing or internal freedom fits better. How do I reach eudaimonia, you might ask? As I mentioned earlier, you need to know your values. Otherwise, you'll become a slave of your emotions. The Stoics spoke about the four cardinal virtues. These are courage or bravery, temperance or self-control, justice or honesty, and wisdom or wit. These virtues are like north and south, east and west. They are a Stoic's compass, in a sense. This is where the famous Stoic concept of indifference fits in. According to Stoicism, a person is considered good if he is brave, just, clever, and disciplined. On the other hand, a person is considered bad if he is a coward, dishonest, stupid, and mentally enslaved. But what about health, death, money, and relationships? A Stoic knows that these things are indifferent because they do not prevent you from acting with virtue. Of course, being healthy and wealthy and having meaningful relationships with others is preferable, but it shouldn't be your main focus, just an added bonus. So, if your goal is to become stronger and face each difficulty with courage and bravery, here are the 3 most life-changing lessons from Stoicism that you can apply today to become undefeatable. 1. The dichotomy of control. Some things are within our control, while others are not. Epictetus. The dichotomy of control is one of the most powerful lessons I've ever learned, and I want to share it with you. The idea is this: we only control our attitude, thoughts, and actions. Everything else is outside our power. This may seem limiting, but it's actually liberating. By accepting that we can control only these 3 things, we free ourselves from worrying about events outside our control. For example, if it starts raining on a day you had planned something important, you can choose to be disappointed and angry, or you can accept it and find a new activity that's just as enjoyable. The same applies to situations where people talk negatively about you. It's easier to change yourself than to change others or circumstances. And remember, we are never actually disturbed by an event, but by our opinion about it. If your girlfriend breaks up with you, you might find out that you have more time to focus on your dreams now. You can apply this principle in your everyday life too. Let's say that you spill some milk in the kitchen. You'll most probably start yelling because the spilled milk annoys you. But how will yelling and shouting undo the event and put the milk back in the carton? Just clean the mess and move on. From now on, every time a so-called negative event happens to you, ask yourself, is this under my control? If not, forget about it immediately. If it is under your control, do your work, focus only on the process, and accept the end result as it comes, knowing you did your best. Remember this: it's not events that upset us, but our judgment about them. 2. The shortness of life. It's not that life is short, but that we waste most of it. If you do it right, one life is enough. Seneca. I'll talk to that girl next time, or I'll make that phone call tomorrow, we say to ourselves, taking for granted our time on this planet. Seneca used to observe how people were always preparing to start living their lives, but never actually did so. This happens today as well. Have you noticed that some of those who have very little not only find it enough, but actually save out of it, and that for some others, a great many possessions seem not enough? This means that material possessions will not bring lasting happiness. Otherwise, every rich person should be happy. The Stoics believed that in the end, the only things that matter are the good we did to ourselves and others, and the amount of our potential that we unlocked. Stoicism is a huge supporter of self-improvement, as you can see. The Stoics advise us to limit our focus to only the essential, the things that move us towards our goals, and throw away everything else that distracts us and make us fail. Remember this: everybody dies, but not everybody lives. 3. Memento mori. Remember, you are mortal. You could live life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism teaches us that every day is a miniature of life. We wake up as we are born, we spend our day as we spend our lives, and then go to bed as we die. Death is one of those things that is outside our control. Life cannot exist without death, and we humans were born to die. Many people, including me in the beginning, get this wrong. Remembering that you are mortal is not terrifying, but creates a sense of urgency in your life to get things done now. Let me ask you something. Which soldier is honored? The one who is brave and prepares to die for his country any moment in the battle, or the one who is afraid and stays behind? After all, death does not exist when you exist, but does exist when you don't. So why be afraid of it? Understand, it's not death that paralyzes you, but the fear, the certainty, and the mystery of it. I know that losing a loved one can be devastating, but life goes on. Otherwise, the death of that person will have ruined 2 lives instead of 1. Stoicism helps you understand that death is as natural as life and is a part of the deal we made as humans. Remember this: you cannot escape death, but at least you can escape the fear of it. The first step you can make towards mastering Stoicism is to master self-discipline. Learn how to build self-discipline with the help of Marcus Aurelius with this video right here.